And the first question is, Elsie, you want to ask it?
Sure. When you begin to work on a piece or any creative activity, is there a feeling or thought or action that seems to take place before it happens? Is inspiration important in your work? And where might inspiration come from?
For you?
Well, for me, the inspiration comes from what I see. So I will walk around and say, I feel like painting something, and sometimes I go, I don't see anything that turns me on, and then all of a sudden it's just this, yes, that's it, and set myself up. And sometimes it's a particular shadow that will be the inspiring thing. Even if I don't feel like working a particular day, if I go out and get to a spot, then, there will be something there about the light that turns me on.
Yeah.
What was it about this that called to you today?
Well, actually, this is not my usual thing. I'm doing a collaboration with somebody from PCI who is doing, Lynn Barnhart from Concord, North Carolina, is doing a clay recreation of Renolda House. And they have this collaborative show going on, I've forgotten the name of it now, but so I'm doing this. His piece is going to sit in front of it, and he came out here and walked around, and I said, okay, what I will do is the whole panorama from the back, and then also stand in front so that when the piece is in the gallery sitting here, people looking at here will see what was behind Renolda House, or if they stand in front of it, they'll look and see what's in front.
Oh,
so
my.
I have set up an entirely too huge production of about 10 pieces that I've got to do for this one piece, and which is crazy because I like to be out drawing more sheep, actually. But since the red buds are out, it's really perfect. I usually do come out to Renolda at this time, but it's not my usual start of inspiration, especially since I have so far to schlep everything.
Right. Yeah, so I'll take a look at these. And you can go ahead and ask the second question.
Okay.
Take the water bottle out from the front, too.
How do the times in your life differ when you're being creative and when you're not?
Well, I'm much happier when I'm being creative. And actually, when I used to say to my kids, that gee, when I'm not painting, I turn into a terrible bitch. And my children would look at me and say, how will we know? But I'll tell you, the one thing, I had this kind of epiphany, but I think when I was 37, we were renting a house for the summer in New York and in New Jersey that had a swimming pool in the background. So my husband was always inviting people over for dinner and a swim and everything, and I didn't have any time to paint. And one day I took the kids into the Metropolitan Museum, and all of a sudden, in front of a Sphinx, my knee just suddenly gave out, and I was in such pain I could barely walk. I managed to get back to the car and drive back home, and the next day I said, dear, you've got to cook for all these people that you invited over because I can't stand up. And finally, it started on a Friday, and Sunday morning I said, well, I'll just sit here and pull out my pastels and draw for a while. And that was about 10 o'clock in the morning, and about 4 o'clock I got up and I fixed a little dinner, but I didn't tell anybody. And about 7 o'clock I got up and said, my God, I can walk, I'm healed. And I realized that it was not painting actually physically destroyed me too,
Yeah.
and the frustrations of it. So it's also partly Adele Davis says arthritis is permitted anger. So I wanted to kick her, but it really I realized that I need, not just for my mental welfare, my emotional welfare, but for my physical welfare, I have to paint.
You can't stand not being creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, thanks. And the next question, let me see if I can come from over here. Get a little bit closer to
Feel free
you.
to shove me out of the way. It's not a problem.
Yes, I will. I did. Yeah, I did, and I
I'll do
will.
a few greens here now.
Okay, yeah, right. If you want to.
This really is just at the very beginning.
Oh,
stages,
I know.
so-
And if we could get, it'd be wonderful if we could come back, next week or tomorrow or whenever you think you might finish it and take the next step. That would be lovely.
It would be, yeah.
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 Do you know when you're going to work on it next? It
It
depends
all
on what's
depends
happening.
on the
Yeah.
weather. I know that Tuesday afternoon I have to gallery sit, so I can't. And I think it's Monday and Tuesday is supposed to be rainy, or is it
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I
That's
thought
right, Tuesday. So I was glad because I wasn't going to be able to work anyhow.
Okay. Good. Good.
When you're being creative, do you like deadlines?
No, I hate deadlines. I actually a little pressure is not bad, but I really would. I need some to make me finish things, but I really don't like. I could never do like illustrations for. I don't like anybody telling me what to do.
Subject matter and
Subject
when.
matter or time or anything else.
Yes, I understand that.
Does a particular show inspire you to be more productive?
You mean a show that I have scheduled? That,
Yeah. Well,
You
at a
mean
gallery.
having a show coming up?
It might make me, get more things to get. It just inspires me to get the stuff to the framer.
Yeah.
But I tend to work obsessively all the time anyhow. So, it is kind of weird because I know that when I was having that show with Jean Parrish a few years ago at Artworks, she started in January, talked about starting in January for the show that was opening in the middle of February. And I always go down with twice as much stuff as I need, and pull out what we don't need. And she still had blank walls because she works according to, and doesn't want to show any old stuff. I don't have any problems with pulling
Right.
out.
I think we'll probably go by the gallery on our way home and take
great.
some videos so that we'll, acquaint ourselves with your work. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Some
I
finished
think
stuff.
so. Yeah. Yeah. And do you want to use the camera? Or are you feeling all right?
I'm fine with
Okay.
No, I'll let you keep doing that. I'll
Okay.
keep breathing.
Okay.
These great questions. When you're making work of art, do you start with an idea and play with it, or do you let the work happen on its own and then grow with it?
Or do you do either one? It's
Well, the
sort of
thing
a-
is,
Well, none of the
working
above.
working from life, on site, it's really the idea that I would start with is I'm going to go to a certain garden,
choosing the site.
choosing the site.
Yeah.
Now, with the sheep, though, that was a different thing. That I actually probably the only time in my life that I was working on that pastoral one, the 22 by 31. That's down at the gallery now, and it was almost done. And that morning, I woke up with this vision of the tall, skinny paper, the 11 by or 15 by 30. I guess I have 11 by 30. That's right. These half sheets of close-up portraits of sheep. I just knew I had to do that, and I ran out. I got the paper ready that size, and I had it all waiting in the car. And then at 4 o'clock that afternoon, as I was almost finished with the other one, and I looked over, and there stood the sheep, Maori, the New Zealand Coopworth, right at the fence, staring at me in exactly the right pose, looking at me like, "You wanted me to pose for you. Here I am. Get to work." And she stood there for quite a while, while I put one away and grabbed the other one out and got started and took pictures and everything. And she really, it was fantastic.
Collaboration almost.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And she was wonderful about doing that.
Oh, that's
But it
great.
was, I had that picture in my head, and it doesn't often happen that way. It's what I'm looking at, and while I'm working, all of a sudden I'll say, "Ah, yes, that's right."
Mm-hmm.
And, I can't be bound to where I am going to be. I'm just remembering once in Ranolda Gardens, I didn't realize that they had put in a sprinkler system. And fortunately, I didn't start until kind of mid-afternoon, and just as I was starting to put the color on, it was 4:30, and suddenly, from behind the easel comes this gush of water, cold, in the crotch. And I went,
Oh, no.
"Cold? What is this?" And I realized that hidden in the grass were these little sprinkler heads that came up at 4:30 and started sprinkling. And fortunately, somebody came by that could help me move all my stuff before my pastels got hit. But I had to, I did a slightly different view.
Yeah. Out of necessity.
I had to move
Yeah.
about 10 feet to get out of the way, and then trying to get out at the end of the day. You know, you'd say, okay, now I'll leave. Whoops, I can't go that way. Whoops, I can't go that way. You know, because there were these sprinklers going on and off all over the place.
Right.
Do you ever work indoors?
Yeah. Let's see. When it's too cold, I'll look out the window and paint. I did a series a couple years ago of vases of flowers in front of the window with the landscape out back. I used to work strictly indoors using models. I did nudes for many years.
Long time.
And actually, that's how I started doing landscapes, because I was artist in residence here in 1976, and I'd pose the models in front of the windows, and I found myself doing more and more of the landscape out the window. And finally, I just eliminated the models.
So it evolved.
From that. Sometimes I will occasionally work from a small study. And with the sheep, I took pictures of them so that I could come home, print up the pictures, and check on the details or get the composition. That charcoal drawing, I had to chase CC around, get the right angle.
Which we'll see in a minute. We'll see the charcoal
Yes,
drawing in a
yes.
minute. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They all have names. You see,
Right,
they're
right.
sheep, so I can never eat lamb again.
Right.
I realize
You
I
won't.
think I'm vegetarian now. I mean, just from eating those lambs, just
Oh,
looking
yeah.
at those lambs, falling in love with those sheep.
Right.
What
I
happens for a lot
understand.
of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
We went to the Indian restaurant today, and I looked at the chicken and said, "Oh, it's Al."
Yeah. Right.
Well, how do you know when a work is done?
You know, when I was a teenager, I used to do portraits, and my mother would walk by and look in the room and say, it's coming along, and then all of a sudden she'd come by and she'd say, it's finished, and lift the board out of my hands.
Wow.
And inside my head, my mother still lives on saying, finished.
So your mother was an artist,
She
or an
was
art critic
she
at
was-
least. Yeah.
No, she was a critic. No,
Yeah.
no. Actually, she won the All City, when she was in first grade, some All City in Philadelphia art contest, and then she ended up being Sunday painter for many years. So she was talented, but with no confidence.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And copying photographs. And
Yeah.
stuff. But she could say, when a portrait was finished. So I'll work and work, and sometimes I tend to overdo. You can overkill something
all-
so easily.
yeah, right.
But I know Benji, my middle one, accuses me of just saying, "Oh, Mom, that's good enough," and just stopping.
Right.
So, but I think it's, you just sort of know.
Yeah.
With pastel, if you've gone one stroke too many, how easy is it to undo in pastel?
To
How do you-
undo pastel, I just took this off. You just sort of dust off down to the surface, and then you can just go back on it with the other color, and it'll go over it, or you can spray over. But if you get it on too thick, you just dust it, and that's what I keep my brush for.
So knowing when it's done is not that critical in this medium.
Well, you still can mess things up by getting too many layers or getting the wrong color on, but you can keep building colors. I mean, somebody was just here, was kind of starting in pastel, and she said, "Well, what's that chalk like?" I said, "Here, you can just do a few strokes there, because I can cover it up again." And she said she wouldn't insist on putting her signature on it. But pastel is, thank God, not like watercolor. I could never do watercolor. I tried, but I remember Peter Kahn saying maybe it's just not your medium.
Well,
That's absolutely right, because it's completely backwards for me. I work from mid-color to light and dark, and watercolor, the white paper is all important. And I'll change my mind too often.
What other mediums have you tried?
Well, oil in college, because nobody ever took pastel seriously back then. I mean, they never mentioned pastels. And even Degas pastels.
Right.
I don't think Cassatt at all was mentioned.
Right.
So I got to college, we did oils, and they were just inventing acrylics at that point. And then when my oldest was a couple years old, 2, 3 years old, and I was having to use his room as studio when I was awaiting the second child, and the smell of the turpentine I figured would just not be good for him, so I switched to acrylic at that point. And then I discovered that just is so flat. I just, at first I was using it like oil and it was okay, and then I think I got those jars of cheap Utrecht acrylics and everything was flat, and I found my stuff getting flat and sarcastic.
Ooh.
And I did some very amusing things, but they really, they weren't painterly at all.
Right.
That just wasn't me, and I can't work out of my head. I've tried. So it was, I can't do abstractions.
Well, but what do you mean you can't do abstractions?
Well, I mean, pure abstract.
I understand what you mean.
I can pull out
but
the abstract in what I see,
Yeah.
but I can't. I get bored doing something that isn't connected with reality.
Right.
And I need something to start from.
That's what the inspiration question was about.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not just to sit there and invent something out of my head.
Right.
And I remember in college, abstract expressionism in its heyday, and there we're in a room where the windows are too high, all you could see is sky, and they'd say, paint out of your head, and I went, there's nothing in there yet.
Right.
How can I do it? And you weren't supposed to look at any past work. This is the 50s. It was, cheating to be inspired by anybody from the past. And I mean, it was really, you do things that sort of look like linoleum.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little self-serving and, insular or something. Yeah, I understand what you mean.
Yeah, I simply can't do out-of-head stuff. I draw the figure really well, and when somebody says, oh, draw a figure, if it's not there in front of me, it comes out this sappy nothing, and I have to respond to what's there.
Yeah. That's a good quote right there. Right. Yeah.
Oh, no, you
Yeah. Do we have any more questions?
There is another question. I think you may have already answered it, but maybe this question will bring something else forward. Do you think that making art has helped you in your life in any way? And would you explain that?
Well, one, it's made it possible for me to earn a living doing what I love doing. And, I always tell kids that if you love what you're doing, you break even, then everything else is gravy. And I remember I was saying that standing in a gorgeous garden in France, and I said, I'm just breaking even at a higher level than I used to.
Yeah.
But, it's a wonderful, wonderful life. And my daughter is doing the same thing. She's never made poverty level, but she's having a wonderful time, and she, supports herself. So,
That's good.
Any advice to people who want to make a living doing what they love, which is creating?
Well, don't set your standard of living too high. If it's a choice between being miserable, if they want to do it, what they love as a hobby, fine, as long as they don't spend their lives looking forward just to vacations. I think that's awful to people. The vacation is the highlight of life.
Right.
Of course, with art, your life is a tax deduction too, so that's
That's nice too. Yeah.
life is a deduction.
Right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's possible that I can take some of these from this far away, no, I see a shadow. I see myself in it.
How about from an angle?
Yeah, it's just going to have to be from an angle.
I see.
I can do
the
that.
first one okay on the angle. I start getting a little glare in the second.
Second one.
I wonder if turning the lights off would help.
Yeah, it probably would. There, oh, right over there. The ones on the back walls are almost impossible because of the light coming in from the windows.
Does that help you?
Maybe. You know, it's hard to see in the camera, the reflections. It's possible I can get those three.
I wonder if I stood behind you. And lots of glare.
You see how I see myself in the mirror? It's not, that doesn't work.
Right.
Maybe if you stood on the side of the painting. And that doesn't work either. No. It's just, there's too much space. Now if I come up to it, no, it's still a mirror. It's just a mirror. Yeah. The only way to do it is to get it from below, and you can still see everything. Like, this is okay. I got it earlier, but now I'm close up and I can see the reflection of the lights in it. I'll just use a telephoto lens and see. None of them may work, I don't know.